New information and new testimony from the January 6th committee from former acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen and two other conservative Republican officials appointed by then President Trump. Rosen's deputy said that then President Trump, who had legitimately lost the election, then tried to get the Justice Department to lie about fraud, that is, so he could stay in power. Again, even though he had just lost the election.
You also noted that Mr. Rosen said to Mr. Trump, quote, DOJ can't and won't snap its fingers and change the outcome of the election. How did the president respond to that, sir?
He responded very quickly and said, essentially, that's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm just asking you to do is just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman.
The former DOJ leaders say Trump's pressure campaign hit a boiling point when he almost replaced Rosen with Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Clark. Now, that's noteworthy because Clark had no criminal law experience, none, but they say he was willing to act on the false claims of election fraud. They testified that on that day, they assured Trump there would be mass resignations if he went through with the plan. Clark testified to the committee earlier this year and asserted his Fifth Amendment rights 125 times. His home was searched by federal agents before yesterday's hearing. Clark calls this investigation highly politicized. CBS News chief political analyst John Dickerson joins us at the table. They said yesterday's table. Good to see you, John.
Good to see you, Gayle.
I'm always glad when John is here. They said yesterday's testimony could be considered some of the most crucial so far. What did you make of yesterday's hearing?
Well, we've seen the drama that happened in public, the riot on January 6th. This was the drama we didn't see that was happening behind closed doors. And that meeting in the Oval Office, where the top leadership of the Justice Department threatened to resign, that was people standing up, right? We've seen a lot during the Trump years. One of his talents was teaching people to lie down. Sometimes people who knew they should stand up, knew something was going on that they should speak out about, they didn't say anything. Here you had people stand up in the moment. And that matters because the ideas like free elections, the rule of law, the will of the people, those only exist if people stand up for that idea. Yeah. We've seen over the last 4 years that when people don't stand up, those wither away. And if those wither away, you don't have a democracy.
What I find so remarkable about these hearings is that these are not people talking to reporters. These are not people giving speeches. These are people under oath who were conservative Republicans who voted for the president, supported the president, worked for the president. So with that in mind, what do you make of the hearings overall at this point?
So that's a key point. And what I make is that this was not just about January 6th. This was a 78-day effort. The minute Donald Trump knew he lost the election, he worked for 78 days every possible way he could. I mean, it was like a burglar who first tries the front door, then the window, then the mail slot, then the dog door. These were all individual gambits. And what I mean is pressuring the vice president, pressuring the officials in the states, whipping up the crowd. Now we learned about what he tried to do at the Justice Department. This was a relentless, and by the way, he was supposed to be presidenting at that time, but he spent 2.5 months working on this. And it's just, as you point out, we're learning this from the voices of insiders, from family members, from those, and that gives it much more weight and credibility.
Given the current climate, our country's leaders as divided as the citizens, can these hearings achieve something that could prevent this from happening again?
I think it's a great question, Nate. Yes, because those ideas I talked about, they are what keep us in balance. You know, America has run over those bright lines about the will of the people, the rule of law, and it gets back in balance when people stand up. There are a lot of people who've stood up in this testimony. We've heard about them, and it requires all of the rest of us, members of the president's party, Democrats, citizens, to say, this standing up is the behavior we want. We are a country of laws because the founders said, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get so passionate. You're going to decide, you know, the laws don't matter because what I believe so strongly. So let's just do what we want and we'll figure out the laws later. You can't run a country.
It seems like those who stood up wanted to be on the right side of history because they know that at some point they were going to be questioned about this moment. And whether that was because they were thinking predictively or they genuinely felt that this is wrong and I have to stand for something.
Well, that's right. I mean, a lot of people get into this whole business of public life because they believe in a certain set of ideas. And that gives them warmth in their heart because they believe those ideas lead to a better America. And it seems like there were a lot of people who weren't nourished by those ideas, but a lot of the people who stood up were nourished and stood strong under incredible pressure. And by the way, pressure that's still going on.
Wow.
When I was watching that hearings, think about the violence that we've seen and that we're still seeing. When you testify in public like this,
Right.
you are inviting
Make yourself a target.
that kind of heat.
But there are still people who are standing up saying that that election was a fraud. They're calling it highly politicized, a witch hunt, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard it before. What do you make of the Republicans who still say that there is no there there? There's still many of them that still believe. Well, I don't know if they actually believe it, but they're still saying it publicly.
Well, you had the ranking Republican, Chuck Grassley, in the Senate, say that that meeting in the White House, that Oval Office meeting, was just the president getting advice about a policy idea. Yeah. That's like saying the burglar who doesn't break into the house was just interested in residential architecture.
Yeah.
Unless you call a thing by its name, those lines disappear.
Right.
So if you wave this away, you wave in more like it. Why? Because there are a lot of people who think apocalyptically in politics right now. They think we are at a dangerous moment and we got to do anything we can. Rules don't matter.
These hearings really matter, though, John, don't they?
They matter because
really
we have to reassert the idea that even if you're passionate about something, you can't blow off the rule of law. You can't blow off the will of the people. These ideas matter because if you blow them off, you have chaos.
Oof. And to Nate's point, they matter for history as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Future historians will be watching. John Dickerson, thank you very much.